We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lepak Shikurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris bets on Tim Walz as running mate, says we are going to win, while Trump blasts Walz as liberal extremist. Hamas names an architect of October 7 attacks, Yahya Sinwar, as new political leader. Israel vows to continue to pursue him. US Secretary of State Blinken calls him primary decider on ceasefire. And in Bangladesh, Nobel Peace Prize laureate Muhammad Yunus appointed head of interim government. Country opens, starts slowly returning to normalcy. Government factories to reopen today. And an historic moment, Vinesh becomes first Indian woman wrestler to reach Olympic final. Hockey wizards go down fighting to a valiant Germany lineup. On to the details now. US Vice President Kamala Harris shared the stage with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz on Tuesday for the first time since he was announced as a running mate for the 2024 presidential election. Walz made a strong debut as US Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, launching sharp attacks against former President Donald Trump and Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance at a rally in Philadelphia. Walz said violent crime was up under Donald Trump, not even counting the crimes he committed.
Drove our economy into the ground, and make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
Well, the Minnesota governor expressed his eagerness to debate Republican vice presidential candidate Vance.
I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. I got to tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy and, yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see.
The Trump campaign and leading Republicans have launched their first attacks on Tim Walz, labeling him as far left, dangerously liberal and a radical. Donald Trump, in a social media post, said that Tim Walz would be the worst VP in history. Trump added that Walz will unleash hell on earth and open the US's borders to the worst criminals imaginable. Republicans vice president candidate J.D. Vance said that Walz was on the far left of the Democratic Party and chosen because Harris was a radical herself.
My view on it is it just highlights how radical Kamala Harris is. This is a person who listened to the Hamas wing of her own party and selecting a nominee. This is a guy who's proposed shipping more manufacturing jobs to China, who wants to make the American people more reliant on garbage energy instead of good American energy, and has proposed defunding the police just as Kamala Harris does. I think it's interesting, actually, they make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail.
All right, and for more, we have Benji Haya joining us from Philadelphia. Well, Benji, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz picked up as vice presidential nominee by Harris, and he brings a rural Midwestern perspective to the Democrats' campaign. What can you tell us about the reactions there?
Well, as you might be able to see behind me, there is an outrageous thunderstorm unfolding in Philadelphia, a downpour which has caused stark warnings for the area. Yet I think, frankly, nothing could put a dampener on the evening that the Kamala Harris campaign has had here in Pennsylvania. In a rally in a building behind me in Philadelphia, and we were inside, there was a simply raucous atmosphere welcoming both the Vice President and her newly unveiled running mate, Tim Walz. And this is an individual who really was unheard of across the United States just weeks ago, but his experience, his ability to balance the ticket for Kamala Harris in terms of background, in terms of race, in terms of ideology, has put him in such strong stead that he now is her number 2, her vice presidential candidate for November's general election. And what this has done ultimately is unite the Democratic Party behind this ticket. Even one of the main contenders to be Kamala Harris's running mate, the governor of this very state of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, was on the stage here tonight endorsing Tim Walz as an individual who can try to reach out across the political aisle and win the hearts and minds of some of those in rural America, in those key constituencies, those key states that the Harris campaign really must win in America's Midwest to try to defeat Donald Trump and maintain their control of the White House.
All right. Also, Benji, a war of words have already started between the Trump-Vance and Harris-Walz campaign. Where do you see this going?
Well, we saw it unfold, haven't we, in the past couple of hours. On the stage in the rally here in Philadelphia just a few hours ago, it was Tim Walz who continued his attacks, the sort of language that we've heard, branding his opponent,
yes.
J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's running mate, as, quote, weird, much to the crowd's delight. On the other hand, we've seen, already Republican Party attacks directed towards Tim Walz, lambasting him as, quote, a dangerous liberal, someone they say who will allow convicted felons to vote, which I think is a deeply ironic line, considering that Donald Trump is himself one.
All right, Benji, thank you so much for all that update from Philadelphia. And moving on, Hamas chose Yahya Sinwar, one of the architects of the deadly October 7th attack, as the next head of the group's political office, consolidating his power over the terrorist group as it continues the conflict with Israel. Sinwar is seen by Israel as the mastermind behind the October 7th attack by Hamas inside Israeli territory, in which over 1,100 people were killed and more than 200 others taken captive. Sinwar, who spent 2 decades in Israeli prisons, have been long viewed by Israeli officials as a strategist with a keen understanding of their society. He has been Hamas's leader in Gaza since 2017, but he will now replace Ismail Haniyeh, the group's top political leader, who was a key liaison in the indirect ceasefire talks with Israel. Well, the United States has communicated to Iran and Israel that there is a consensus in the West Asia that conflict must not escalate. Speaking after a meeting with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and their Australian counterparts, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said talks to achieve a ceasefire and hostage deal on the conflict in Gaza had reached their final stage.
We continue to work intensely to de-escalate tensions in the Middle East and to prevent the spread of conflict. Over the past few days, we've been in constant contact with partners in the region and well beyond. In those conversations, we've heard a clear consensus. No one should escalate this conflict. We've been engaged in intense diplomacy with allies and partners, communicating that message directly to Iran. We communicated that message directly to Israel.
A Nobel Peace Prize laureate Mohammad Yunus was named Chief Advisor of Bangladesh's interim government on Tuesday. Yunus was appointed to the post by Bangladesh President Mohammad Shahabuddin after he held meetings with student leaders and chiefs of the 3 military services. The 84-year-old Yunus and his Grameen Bank won the 2006 Nobel Peace Prize for work to lift millions out of poverty by granting tiny loans of under $100 to the rural poor of Bangladesh, but he was indicted by a court in June on charges of embezzlement. The leaders of the anti-discrimination student movement had proposed an interim government led by Nobel laureate Dr. Mohammad Yunus. A spokesperson for Yunus said he agreed. Yunus is in Paris for a medical procedure and is expected to return to Dhaka soon. Early on Tuesday, Shahabuddin dissolved parliament, clearing the way for the interim government and new elections. The streets of the capital, Dhaka, were again peaceful on Tuesday, with traffic lighter than usual and many schools and businesses that shut during the unrest still closed. Garment factories, which supply apparel to some of the world's top brands and a mainstay of the economy, will reopen on Wednesday after being shut due to the disruptions. Well, Russia said on Tuesday that Ukraine had launched an armored assault into Russia's southern Kursk region, but Moscow's forces had responded. On Tuesday, Russia sent reserve troops to its southern Kursk region that borders Ukraine after up to 300 Ukrainian fighters attacked its border units. DD India correspondent Dasha Chernyshova has more from the Russian capital.
Russian Defense Ministry has confirmed that the Ukrainian sabotage and reconnaissance group has been defeated after it tried to attack Russia's Kursk region. Moscow earlier accused Ukraine of attempting to penetrate Russian borders and attacking border settlements of Nikolaevo, Darina and Aleshna in Kursk region with up to 300 people, at least 11 tanks and 22 armored vehicles. Russian border troops have been repelling the attacks with the use of operational and tactical and assault aviation that struck the concentrations of Ukrainian manpower and equipment in the Sumy region. As a result of those strikes, Moscow says 16 units of the Ukrainian armed vehicles, including 6 tanks, were destroyed. Moscow also says that the reserves of the Russian group of troops in the Kursk direction have been moved to the area of the clash. The FSB said that the Russian forces have dealt with an armed provocation by Ukraine, and the attack resulted in civilian casualties. The last time local authorities in the Kursk region reported Kyiv's attempts to break the Russian borders on the 12th of March. Dasha Chernyshova, reporting in Moscow for DD India.
Well, governors in the U.S. states of Georgia and the Carolinas have warned residents to prepare for heavy flooding as Tropical Storm Debbie hammers the southeastern United States. Forecasters say Debbie is moving back out to sea, where it will refuel with additional moisture before making a second landfall sometime on Thursday. DD India's U.S. correspondent Kate Fisher reports for more.
Well, here in Washington, US President Joe Biden's approved emergency declarations, making federal funds available to the states of Florida, Georgia and South Carolina. Evacuation warnings were issued for more of the southeastern US coast on Tuesday as Storm Debbie continued a slow march across the state of Georgia for a second day. A month's worth of rain fell in the Georgian city of Savannah on Monday. According to the National Weather Service, it reported 17 centimetres. But in the whole of the month of August last year, the city only received 14 centimetres of rain. The city announced an overnight curfew, along with the South Carolinian city of Charleston, as flash flood warnings were issued. Forecasters predict that Debbie could make landfall near Charleston on Thursday, and then the weather system could move up the middle of North Carolina through Virginia and into the Washington, D.C. area by Saturday, according to the Hurricane Center. North Carolina and South Carolina have dealt with 3 catastrophic floods from tropical systems in the past 9 years, all causing more than $1 billion in damage. In Washington, Kate Fisher reporting for DD India.
Well, floods and landslides triggered by heavy rains wreaked chaos across Nepal. Landslide killed 7 in Baglung region, while 4 were rescued alive. Baglung, a hill district in Gandaki province, is the hardest hit by the monsoon turmoil. 8 people, including 6 children, perished in landslides at wards 9 and 10 of Bodyguard rural municipality on Tuesday morning. Floods and landslides have also disrupted various highways and road sections. The vehicular movement was obstructed in the Kotang section of the Sagarmatha highway as the flood damaged a road in Ward 11 of Halesi Tawachung municipality. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. We'll tell you all about the presidential visit to Fiji and a 3-nation tour. Marking a milestone in international military cooperation, the Indian Air Force launches its first ever multilateral air exercise, Tarang Shakti, bringing together air forces from many countries. And celebrating the vibrant heritage of Indian textiles, India celebrates National Handloom Day today on 7th of August. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khuran, and moving on to other stories. On a visit to Fiji, President of India Draupadi Murmu visited the Sri Siva Subramania Swami temple at Nadi, Fiji, and offered prayers. Accompanied by her daughter and the official delegation from India, President offered prayers at the temple. The temple, dedicated to Lord Subramania Swami, also known as Lord Kartike or Lord Murugan, is built in the traditional Dravidian architecture and is reminiscent of the temples of Tamil Nadu. On Tuesday, India's President Draupadi Murmu addressed Fiji's parliament. She highlighted cooperation in agriculture, climate change, education, space and renewable energy. Fiji conferred its highest civilian award, the Companion of the Order of Fiji, on President Murmu. On Tuesday, the President also addressed an enthusiastic gathering of Indian diaspora community in Fiji and hailed the contribution of Indians in the development and close ties between the two nations. Well, the Indian Air Force has launched its first ever multilateral air exercise, Tarang Shakti, in Tamil Nadu. This significant event marks a milestone in international military cooperation, bringing together air forces from the United Kingdom, Germany, Spain and France. Akshay Dongre has more on this. Take a look.
India's first multinational air exercise, Tarang Shakti 2024, kick-started in Sulur, Tamil Nadu. German, French, Spanish and the Royal Air Force conducted air exercises with the Indian Air Force. The Chief of Air Staff of the Indian Air Force also participated on the first day of the aerial exercise along with his German counterpart. Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhry welcomed Lieutenant General Ingo Gerhards, the commander of the German Air Force, who flew in Eurofighter Typhoon.
Tarang Shakti is, especially for the three nations, France, Spain and Germany, part of a bigger deployment. We are deploying one time around the world this year. It's overall 5 exercises. And for the German Air Force, it's the biggest and most complex deployment we ever did. But it's much more than doing a military exercise. It's partnering around the globe. I'm pretty sure the next 2 weeks, I take the Indian motto, so to say, we will touch the sky with glory.
All the air forces showcased their aerial prowess during the multinational exercise. India also showcased the growing might of its defense industry.
Over the years now, we have been having a lot of bilateral exercises with many of our partners and friendly foreign countries. For example, with the Royal Air Force, with the French Air Force, the US Air Force, the Singapore Air Force, we have almost an annual exercise with them, a bilateral, either within the country or we go out there. But we've never tried to have a multilateral exercise. We were quite satisfied with what we were doing, and the takeaway from each of the exercises was, good enough learning value for us. So this is the time we realized that it's time now for us also to host a multilateral exercise. From the experience that we gained having taken part in such exercises across the globe, we wanted to put it in action here, and that's why we are here now.
In the exercise, nearly 30 countries will participate, and out of 30, 10 countries will join the exercise with their fighter aircraft. The exercise is being conducted in 2 phases, which aim to showcase India's defence prowess and provide a platform for participating militaries to foster interoperability.
Amid the fast-changing geopolitical landscape in the world, the importance of India when it comes to the Indian Ocean region, the Indo-Pacific, or the experience that it has from its conflicts of the past was exemplified, where the air forces from UK, Spain, Germany and France operated with the Indian Air Force here in Sulur, Tamil Nadu, where all of these air forces shared their experiences and tested their interoperability for the future alliances of these countries. With camera person SP Dubey, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Well, on 7th of August, India celebrates National Handloom Day, a day dedicated to honouring the handloom weavers of the country and their contributions to the rich tapestry of Indian culture and economy. This day not only celebrates the vibrant heritage of Indian textiles, but also aims to promote and support the weavers and artisans who have kept these traditional crafts alive for generations. Here's a report by DD India's correspondent Kriti Vadhera. Take a look.
National Handloom Day is celebrated every year on August 7th, marking the launch of the Swadeshi movement in 1905. The day serves as a reminder of the importance of indigenous craftsmanship and the need to support the artisans who create these unique hand-woven products. This day aims to bridge the gap by promoting the handloom sector and encouraging consumers to choose hand-woven products. The day also honoured the handloom workers of the country to provide motivation and sense of pride to the handloom industry by appreciating their contribution to the cultural, traditional and economic landscape of the country.
Handloom weaving is not just a profession for us, it's a way of life. Each piece we create is a part of our heritage and we take pride in keeping these traditions alive.
Handloom sector is key to women empowerment. Over 70% of handloom weavers and allied workers are women. From traditional saris to modern home decor items, the handloom industry offers a wide range of products that reflect India's artistic heritage. Young entrepreneurs are increasingly advocating for the country's local artisans through their innovative startups.
The Indian handloom textile is a testament to the cultural diversity and our rich heritage. By incorporating this craftsmanship into our modern fashion, we are uplifting the lives of thousands of artisans and also promoting our rich heritage to the global level. We wanted to create a platform where we can be vocal about our local products and also uplift the life of Indian artisans. We are very proud of our Indian heritage because they are the important piece of our history and culture. We not only want to promote the Indian heritage in Indian subcontinents, but want to take it globally.
The theme of National Handloom Day 2024 is Weaving Sustainable Futures. This theme underscores the importance of sustainable fashion and eco-friendly choices. It encourages individuals to adopt handloom products, which are often made from natural fibers and dyes, and to support the artisans who create these beautiful and unique items. By choosing handloom, we contribute to environmental conservation and the preservation of traditional crafts. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
And now to all the updates from Paris Olympics 2024. Well, Indian wrestler Vinesh defied huge odds to assure herself of a medal at the Paris Olympics by reaching the final in the women's 50 kg wrestling event on Tuesday. The 29-year-old Vinesh also became the first Indian woman wrestler to reach an Olympic final in wrestling. Sakshi Malik, the only other women wrestler to win an Olympic medal India had clinched a bronze medal at Rio 2016. Vinesh stormed into the women's 50 kg final on the back of 3 stunning wins. She defeated reigning Pan-American Games champion Yunus of Cuba in the semi-finals after getting the better of former European champion Oksana Livic of Ukraine in the quarter-finals. In the opening match, Vinesh pulled off a colossal upset against the reigning Olympic champion Yu Sasaki of Japan. And in yet another heartbreak for India, India lost to Germany 2-3 in the men's hockey semi-final match at the Paris Olympics 2024. Skipper Harmanpreet Singh and Sukhjit Singh scored for India, while Gonzalo Pelliot, Christopher Ruhr and Marco Militkov were the scorers for Germany. India will now face Spain in the Olympics bronze medal match. In the last edition of Olympics at Tokyo, India had won the bronze medal there. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.